Hello guys, today I'm going to be doing a tier list on all guns in criminality. As you saw at the start of the video, I'm using an AI voice just because I don't feel like doing a voice reveal quite yet. Before we start, I just want to mention that the snowball launchers will not be included in the tier list due to them not actually being a gun. Now let's begin. So, the first gun I will be starting off with is the AKM. This weapon is extremely good at shredding through armor and killing people in general. Its damage, magazine size, and fire rate are all pretty high. It can shoot at a far range and has basically zero recoil. However, this weapon can only be obtained from an airdrop or mystery crate, making this weapon pretty rare. Overall, this weapon is definitely an S tier and most likely the best gun in criminality. Next weapon will be the axe. This weapon is very similar compared to the AKM, however a bit weaker in some stats. This firearm is extremely good for its price of only $1,750 for an automatic, and many people consider it as one of the best guns in criminality. In my opinion, it is in the top 5 weapons, so for that reason I will be putting it in the S tier. Now moving on to the Beretta. This weapon only costs $200 and it's a great deal. Within 1 to 2 kills you will be able to make profit from this weapon. This gun has okay range and not too much recoil, making it perfect for beginners. The Beretta has a burst mode which makes it much better for a closer range. Overall a good weapon for making profit, so it's going into the B tier. The Deagle. The Deagle costs $900 and is a 3-shot weapon in the torso. This firearm is meant for people that have a good aim. It can beam at pretty much any range. Overall it's just a good pistol, so it's going into the A tier. The FAL. The FAL is a great weapon for killing people that have armor. It has an extremely high armor penetration and damage, making it great for bounty hunting. A big letdown on this gun is its high price of $3,300. The FAL has a mid to long range and an upgrade that gives the gun a scope attachment. I'm going to put this gun into the A tier for these reasons. The next weapon will be the FNP. I personally think the FNP sucks. This thing is $800, which is more expensive than buying 3 Glocks. The FNP takes 5 shots just to down somebody and its ammo capacity is less than the Glock. The silencer makes this gun a little bit harder to hear, but it's still not worth the money. It's just a weak weapon for its price. You also have to own the Armory Game Pass in order to even access this gun. For all these reasons I am putting the FNP in C tier. It just sucks. Now moving on to the Glock 17. This weapon is only a whopping $250. The Glock 17 gets the job done for what it is. It's in stock everywhere and it's used by many to gain profit. This firearm is good both close and mid-range. It's overall just a really good weapon, so I'll put it in a tier. Now moving to the Glock 18. This weapon costs $1,050 and is definitely a beam. It destroys people who get close to you and has an okay recoil but runs out of ammo too fast. The Glock 18 has the most expensive gun upgrade in criminality, sitting at $8,000. Although the upgrade to the G18 gives you 50 bullets instead of 20, which is insane, it's still very expensive. Overall this gun easily wins the A tier. Now, I want to cover a Game Pass item, which is the Hallows launcher. This weapon is a hit or death sort of weapon. If you hit your shot, the enemy is going to either get flung in the air and get killed or get stunned for a second. This thing is just really great, but sadly it's not obtainable to people who don't own the Game Pass. Overall I'll put the Hallows launcher in B tier. I have not used the first Hallows launcher because I was at an extremely low level during the Halloween event, so for that reason I'll put it in the never used section. The Ithaca. This thing is just like every other shotgun. It's so good and so bad at the same time. Whenever other people use it, one shots me from far away. However, when I use it, it can't do any damage from directly hitting the target. The Ithaca has recently had a damage range bump not so long ago, making the shotgun slightly better. This is going into the B tier. The M1911. This weapon is a strong pistol. It's literally if the Glock and Deagle were put into one. It's so cheap for only $450 and gets the job done. The only downside about this weapon is its low ammo capacity, being only 8 bullets per magazine. Overall this thing beams mid and close range. It does take some skill just like the Deagle and Magnum to use, but it's still really good. Definitely in a tier. The grenade launcher. This thing is $8,000, making it an expensive deal, but it's very deadly and really good. It's actually pretty easy to use despite the ammo drop from a far distance. It has 4 different modes, which are explosive, gas, smoke, and fire. Smoke isn't really needed but is still nice to have. Overall a good explosive weapon, putting it into a tier. The M4. This gun costs $3,100 and is a literal beam like the AKM and Axe. It has less damage than the Axe but has faster fire rate and much less recoil. In my opinion the old sight on this weapon was better than the new one, but it's still a good gun. Overall an insane weapon, putting it into the S tier. And now the MAC-10. I honestly hate this weapon. It runs out of ammo so fast and I feel like it does zero damage. It is good at close range and close range only. I don't feel like this weapon's price sitting at 1,000 good to buy. Its recoil is extremely high and you might as well buy a Glock 18 over this, which is even cheaper than the MAC. Overall, in my opinion, a really bad gun. C tier. The Magnum. This gun is one of the most skillful weapons to use. It has a special system that requires you to hold down left click in order to shoot it. The reward for hitting somebody is high due to it being able to 2-shot body and 1-shot head. This weapon is worth $1,200 and many people that have good aim use it. Overall, an incredible weapon, and I'll put it into the A tier. Now moving to the MP7. This weapon has very high fire rate, zero recoil, and somewhat mediocre damage. $1,700, which is sort of cheap, but at that point you might as well buy an axe. It runs out of ammo extremely quickly, meaning you have to reload before trying to kill another person after you kill one or two. Overall, a pretty good gun, and I'll put it into a tier. Now for the sawn-off. This weapon is only $175 and is so easy to make profit because in just one kill you can make your money back. This thing one-shots head up close and makes the player extremely low if hit in the torso. Overall, this gun is just a really good budget shotgun, so I'll put it in the B tier. Now the RPG. This explosive weapon is $12,000 and requires either $1 million or level 50 to unlock. Its purpose is to just kill zergs and gangs. Overall, a good weapon, however the reload time and price brings this weapon down to an A tier. Moving on to the SKS. This gun has pretty good range and damage. This weapon costs a total of $650, which is pretty expensive for what it is. I feel like the M19 is just a better choice because it's basically the same thing but better. Putting it into the B tier. Just buy M19. Now the Super Shorty. This gun is extremely good at close range because it's a shotgun obviously. $850 is a good deal for this weapon and you can make profit pretty easily. The only bad thing about this gun is that you have to be pretty much right next to your opponent to even do damage. Definitely a B tier gun. Moving on to the Tech 9, we have a pretty cheap pistol for only $350. It has a burst mode that makes this gun an absolute beam if you can hit all the shots. This firearm also has a pretty fast fire rate and an 18-bullet magazine size, which is really good for a pistol. This thing is sort of like a Glock and Beretta put into one. Overall, an A tier gun. The Tommy gun is next, and this weapon is definitely worth its price. It has a good fire rate, zero recoil, and an extremely good magazine size. It costs $1,300 and can kill many people with only one magazine due to it holding 50 bullets. It's good for killing gangs because you won't run out of ammo too fast, and it's pretty satisfying to kill people with this thing. Overall, an A tier gun. The UMP is up next. This gun costs $1,900 and is good for beaming people at both close to medium ranges. It has almost no recoil and has very high armor penetration and damage. The headshot bonus is also really high for this gun. I think this weapon is a bit worse than the axe, so for that reason I'll put it into a tier. Now the Uzi. This gun is so cheap for what it is. For only $400 you can have a submachine gun that has decent range, zero recoil, okay fire rate, and okay damage. This is the cheapest auto gun you can get in the game, and it is definitely worth it. In my opinion, this is the best grinding gun to make profit in the game. Just for that reason I'll put it in the A tier. BFG. This gun is literally the definition of bounty hunting. This thing one-taps basically all armor and has an explosive bullet on impact. The main bad thing about this gun is the long reload time, price of $18,000, and the fact you must be level 80 to even buy this gun. For all snipers, there is a bug that when you scope in from far away onto a player, the scope starts skipping pixels. This is a big issue because it makes shooting players from a far distance extremely hard. Overall, an A tier sniper. Now the Mare. Once again, the bug with scoping from afar really nerfs all snipers, so that brings down the Mare a little bit. The Mare is literally just a pocket sniper and is surprisingly good for someone close range. It is worth $4,000, making it more than 4 times cheaper than the BFG. It one-shots the head and 2-shots the body. Overall, an A tier in my opinion. Now lastly, the Scout. The Scout is literally the Mare but with a silencer. I don't think this thing is worth almost 2x more money than the Mare. It does almost the same damage as the Mare, and due to it being much more expensive than the Mare, I think it's worse. Overall, a B tier gun. This tier list does not have the Scar, so I am going to quickly add one in my photo editor. The Scar is worth $3,500 and requires level 60 plus to be used. It has high damage and armor penetration, making it a hard-hitting gun. This weapon is basically the axe and FAL combined into one. The Scar also has an attachment that adds a new sight and a grenade launcher on the bottom of the gun. Overall, a really good gun for hitting up, so I'll put it into the A tier. Thank you so much for watching this video, as it took me so long to make the script and to get all the footage. I hope you enjoyed this video, as it's most likely the most time I have ever spent creating a video.
They left me for dead, she told me I suck. Now I'm about to fuck this whole industry up. I came from the city, got rich on some oil. Now I'm in the kitchen with oil and trucks. It is what it is. Made me a milli, before that I made me a kid. I went to the mall.